Next on the news.
See the many wonders God has worked.
The faithful from the Diocese of Brooklyn filling the Cathedral Basilica of St. James to mark the historic church's 200th anniversary. They've endured so much after a deadly shooting. Now children from Robb Elementary are heading back to class. We'll have a report from national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg. An investigation into a fast-moving fire that killed dozens at a Coptic Christian church in Egypt. Plus, she didn't think twice about it, how a woman became a lifesaver for her adopted brother. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now.
Generations have come to this community, sharing different cultures over these 200 years.
The Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan, taking part in a celebration for the Cathedral Basilica of St. James that was centuries in the making. They came from all over and they filled the pews of the historic cathedral. The 200th anniversary of St. James will be one to remember for generations. And a big part of it was a mass that celebrated the Eucharist, something that the church has been doing since its doors first opened. For 2 centuries, bishops and priests have processed up to the altar at St. James in Brooklyn.
Today's celebration marks an important moment for parish life in all of Long Island.
Sunday's Mass celebrated the 200th anniversary of the Cathedral Basilica of St. James, the first church built on Long Island. Before it was established in 1822, the Irish immigrants who lived in Brooklyn had to go to Manhattan to attend Mass.
Catholics had to take the Fulton Street ferry across the East River to attend Sunday Mass. You think crossing the Brooklyn Bridge and getting on the BQE is an adventure. You ain't seen nothing.
Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan was joined by Bishop John Barris of Rockville Center and New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who was the main celebrant and homilist.
This grand cathedral is evidence of a 2,000-year-old allegiance to the Lord's final mandate, go out to all the world.
The cathedral's storied history ties all 3 dioceses together.
We feel a special sense of belonging to each of our neighbors, and we appreciate that. We value those ties along with our unity of faith.
And even though the neighborhood surrounding the cathedral has changed over the years, Bishop Brennan says one thing has remained the same.
Much history has passed, and so many changes have taken place, coming and going. But you know, what is constant here is the proclamation of the gospel, the celebration of the Eucharist, and the encounter with God's mercy.
The historical significance of the Cathedral Basilica was a recurring theme during Sunday's Mass. While it was established in 1822, St. James was later officially designated a cathedral in 1853 when the Diocese of Brooklyn was created. And in 1982, Pope St. John Paul II added the title of Basilica to its name, just 3 years after the Holy Father made an unscheduled stop at the cathedral during his visit to New York City. You can learn more about the cathedral in Net TV's new documentary, The Story of the Cathedral Basilica of St. James.
We're really in the seat of Catholicism on Long Island. From Brooklyn to Montauk, the story of the Catholic Church really begins right here at St. James.
Using historical footage, vintage photos, and interviews, the 30-minute documentary delves into the cathedral's history as well as the history of the diocese. It premiered Sunday alongside the anniversary Mass. Again, the documentary is called The Story of the Cathedral Basilica of St. James. And if you didn't get to catch it for the Sunday premiere, don't worry. You'll have 2 more chances to see it this coming Saturday. It will air on Net TV on August 20th at both 2:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. And Net TV will be re-airing the 200th anniversary Mass for the Cathedral Basilica of St. James right before the 9 p.m. screening of the documentary. The televised Mass starts at 7 p.m. and runs until 9 p.m. Again, that's Saturday, August 20th at 7 p.m. Also tonight, Currents News is back in Texas, where there are prayers and remembrance in Uvalde. Students from Robb Elementary School gather the strength to head back to class. But they're not heading back to that school, which was the scene of a deadly shooting in May. Some of the students are now enrolled in a Catholic school just over a mile away. National correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg, is in Uvalde and spoke with that school's principal and San Antonio Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller. John joins us now. Hi, John.
Hi, Christine.
So, John, you were at that mass this morning and then spoke with the Archbishop one-on-one afterwards. What is his message to the families?
You know, between the families, the parents, the students, a lot of the message had to do with first that, you know, the start of the school year is a joyous occasion for the students to be with each other. So that was one part of the message. And then also along with that, when it comes to the families and the parents that might still have hesitation or you know, a hard time sending their children back to school so soon after the tragedy. He talked about the Archdiocese being there and earning that trust of those families and being there for them to support them and help them through this to help whatever they need as the new school year gets underway.
So reports say enrollment at that school, Sacred Heart Catholic School, which is one of 3 private schools in Uvalde, has doubled because of this tragedy. How has the school prepared for this influx of students?
You know, Christine, when I spoke to the principal, what he said is their enrollment was 55 last year. And he said for that reason, classrooms weren't entirely filled. And so they basically this year, they were able to, with that enrollment jump, they were able to fill all of the classrooms they had, add some more teachers. And he said it'll be a pretty seamless transition into the school year with an almost at capacity enrollment. And so he's looking forward to it. I know they're still looking for one position that he's helping out with, but other than that, their staff, they're ready to go. And that includes counselors, that includes teachers, ready to welcome these new students and existing students that are returning.
I know there have also been a number of safety updates to that school. What are some of the changes parents and students are seeing at Sacred Heart this year?
There are, Christine. You know, they put a lot into this school to really renovate it and change it for these new and existing families. There's new steel fencing around the entire exterior of the school. All of the windows and a few of the doors have been replaced with ballistic bulletproof glass. They've also installed a $43,000 security system throughout the school with cameras and things like that to make sure, you know, the principal said safety is a top priority and they want both the students and their families to feel very comfortable with the students being here and be a very welcoming environment. And so other things they've also done, not particularly safety-wise, but additions they've made. They put in a new playground for the students. They've renovated the cafeteria gathering area with new ceiling, new kitchen, new tile flooring. So a lot of new changes at Sacred Heart this year.
So out of all of those safety things you were talking about, obviously that's trying to help the students feel safer physically, but what about emotionally? How are they helping the kids?
It was, of course, very traumatic for the entire community. They have counselors that will be on site every single day. They also have the teachers were all trained to help kids with their emotional things, see signs of different things, be able to intervene when they have to, and be a support system for the students. So that's a big part of what they've added to the school year, and they're prepared for how to handle that and for those things to happen.
The mass that was held was closed to the public, but you were invited inside and you got an exclusive firsthand look at this first day of school. It's the first time the Robb Elementary students are back in a classroom since that shooting. So what can you tell us about the mood among everyone there?
You know, that's something me and Archbishop actually spoke about because I was at a lot of those masses back right after the tragedy happened that he led. And of course, the mood at that time was one of disbelief. It was very somber here. And he said even a month ago when he was here, when the results of the investigation started to come out, it was still very somber. There was some anger. And he said that that was a complete 360 from what he saw here today. And that's kind of what I saw as well from when I was here. You know, there was a joyfulness, there was a hopefulness here today. Children were talking with one another, parents were communicating, hugging, shaking hands, as if, you know, it's a joyous occasion. It's the start of a new school year, and it certainly felt in the church and then in that cafeteria afterwards like it is the start of a new school year that everyone's excited to get underway.
That's nice to hear. And of course, our prayers still go out to everyone in that community. John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. Thanks for that report.
Thank you, Christine.
For full coverage of John's trip to Uvalde, follow the Tablet and Currents News online. More migrants have arrived via bus to the Big Apple. The group of 31 migrants reached Manhattan's Port Authority bus terminal at 7 a.m. on Sunday. and they were wearing masks. This follows 2 busloads which arrived in New York City on Friday. Among those 89 passengers were several infected with COVID and one so sick he was expected to be hospitalized. Administration officials say more than 5,000 refugees have arrived in the city since the spring. Once the migrants reach the city, officials are required by law to shelter the homeless newcomers, and now there's been a scramble to find room for them. To combat the crisis, Mayor Eric Adams has opened 11 new shelters under emergency contracting protocols. He's also been planning to open a new 600-bed facility in Midtown Manhattan. That facility would have needed to be up and running by Monday if DHS selected the plan. Let's take a closer look at the number of people sleeping in New York City shelters. In just one night of July alone, the Department of Homeless Services says there were 48,188 people sleeping in shelters. That's up from about 45,000 recorded in April. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan will be meeting the migrants on Tuesday. His Eminence will privately talk with the immigrant families as well as caseworkers from Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of New York. The charity has been giving them everything they need, from food and water to information sessions on their legal rights. Cardinal Dolan will then hold a media briefing to address the influx of migrants to the Big Apple. Be sure to tune in to Currents News and the Tablet for full coverage on Cardinal Dolan's meeting with migrants. Again, that'll be Tuesday on Currents News. The community outreach team from Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens was helping out at Our Lady of Mercy's food pantry. The nonprofit was giving out clothing last Friday, as well as providing community members with blood pressure screenings. The team was also informing the public about how their food pantry network operates and how to sign up for SNAP benefits. Since the pandemic began, CCBQ has provided much needed support at 56 parish-based food pantries. If you'd like to take advantage of their next event, then be sure to join them at Our Lady of Presentation this Thursday, August 18th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for their Live It Up, Get Healthy, Live Well event. CCBQ will be handing out fresh produce as well as offering free health and dental screenings. Again, that's this Thursday at Our Lady of Presentation Church at 278 Rockaway Avenue. For the first time since the start of the COVID pandemic, proud Chinatown processors took to the streets to honor the Blessed Mother. More than 500 people filled the historic pews of the Church of the Transfiguration on Mott Street on Sunday, celebrating the Feast of the Assumption with a mass and procession. The theme of this year's celebration included praying for Mary's intercession for peace in Ukraine, easing tensions between China and Taiwan, and an end to the pandemic. There's a lot more news headed your way. The flames moved incredibly fast. Dozens are dead after a fire at a Christian Coptic church in Egypt. Also, a growing number of threats against the FBI after the raid on former President Trump's Florida resort. What action the government is taking now. And with rising mortgage rates, how first-time home buyers could be shut out when it comes to getting a loan.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Pushing through crowds of weeping mourners in an impromptu mass funeral Sunday. This after an early morning fire tore through the Abu Sefin Coptic Christian Church in Cairo, killing at least 41 people, including a priest and at least 15 children. A preliminary report points to a short-circuited air conditioning unit as the cause of the fire. However, Egypt's Coptic community has long been the target of religious-based violence. The Coptic Church is the largest Christian community in the Middle East, making up at least 10 million of Egypt's 103 million Muslim-majority population. The leader of the Coptic Church, Patriarch Tawadros II, released a statement in response to the fire, saying in part, "We are in continuous communication with all local authorities and the governorate, the health ministry, and all officials. We send our condolences to all the victims' families, and we pray for all the injured and wounded, trusting in God's hand to have mercy on us all." 5 Brooklyn residents were among those wounded in a suspected terror attack in Jerusalem over the weekend. Early Sunday morning, a gunman opened fire targeting a bus near Jerusalem's Western Wall, wounding 8 people. Among the victims was a 22-year-old from Crown Heights, a family of 3 from Williamsburg, and a pregnant woman from Borough Park who suffered abdominal injuries and had to undergo an emergency C-section. According to police, the suspected shooter has turned himself in. The FBI is reporting an unprecedented number of threats against the Bureau in the wake of a raid at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. And now the Department of Homeland Security has posted a bulletin about potential violence. Chris Wynn has the latest.
In 22 years in federal law enforcement with the FBI, I have never seen this level of threat.
The FBI and Department of Homeland Security issuing a bulletin over the weekend warning law enforcement and courting government personnel about a steep rise in online threats. The warning highlighting a threat to plant a dirty bomb in front of FBI headquarters and calling for civil war and armed rebellion. This following the FBI's seizure of classified documents from former President Donald Trump's Florida home 1 week ago. On Friday, the names of 2 agents who signed the search warrant surfaced online before a judge unsealed the warrant. A Florida court also removed information about the judge who signed the search warrant from its website after he became the target of violent threats.
We have extremist elements who are, again, thinking they're being called to do something. And we need to have that calming voice from both sides.
Some online rhetoric bleeding over into the real world. In Cincinnati, a man shot dead after attempting to breach the FBI field office while apparently armed with an AR-15 rifle and a nail gun Thursday. In Phoenix,
we will resist.
A group of Trump supporters, some of them armed, gathered outside the FBI building for a peaceful protest. FBI Director Chris Wray sending a memo to employees telling them their safety and security is his primary concern.
We can all protest in peaceful manners. You can be as angry as you want, but violence is always wrong.
Chris Wynn, Currents News.
A 4-year-old boy has died and his father is now under arrest after a scooter accident in the Bronx on Sunday night. Police say the young boy was riding on a stolen motorized scooter with his dad when it collided with a car in Kingsbridge Heights. The boy was rushed to St. Barnabas Hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Now the father awaits arraignment in Bronx criminal court. In addition to endangering the welfare of a child, he has been charged with possession of stolen property. Mortgage rates are on the rise, and that's making it tougher for first-time home buyers. But experts say consumers still have options when it comes to securing the best and lowest interest rate home loan. Jen Sullivan has the details.
Here we go again. New data from mortgage giant Freddie Mac shows the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rose to 5.22% in the week ending August 11th, up from 4.99% the week before, and nearly double what it was during the same time last year.
Either you're going to have to pay more for that house because the loan is going to cost more, or you're going to have to downsize the kind of house that you want.
Whether you're refinancing or looking to purchase your first home, experts have these 3 tips to help you navigate home loans amid so much uncertainty. 1, before you even apply, strengthen your credit score.
The better credit, you're going to get a better rate.
2, explore mortgage options. Find out which type of loan works best for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, or USDA. 3, shop around. Request loan estimates from several lenders to compare rates and fees. Loan expert Jose Sano recommends asking your lender if you can lock in a rate while you shop for a home, or for months or even years.
If the rates go up and we don't lock those loans, that buyer might not qualify for that property anymore.
And if you're still on the fence, some experts say don't wait because conditions will never really be perfect.
Date the rate, marry the house. Purchase your home, and you know you're going to have the opportunity, whether it's in 6 months or a year and a half, to refinance and lower your interest rate back down.
Again, that was Jen Sullivan reporting. Still to come on Currents News, it shows the true loving bond of a family. Next, how one woman saved the life of her adopted brother. And she's a therapy dog who loves to surf. Coming up, why she's hanging up her board. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. After 13 years of helping special needs children and wounded veterans with surfing, Ricochet the surf dog is now hanging up her board. And she's riding her final wave with someone she had once helped, Purple Heart recipient Jose Martinez, who lost both his legs and one arm in Afghanistan. Ricochet's retirement comes after the therapy dog was diagnosed with kidney disease. She'll now be able to receive treatment full-time. A woman in Arkansas was a true lifesaver for a member of her family. She was a kidney match for her adopted brother in need. And as she tells Desmond Nugent, she didn't even have to think twice about it.
Since birth, Leslie George has been protecting her older brother, Craig Robinson. Only 14 months apart, Craig is not only visually impaired, but also suffers a rare genetic disorder, a situation that grew worse 3 years ago, causing a kidney dysfunction.
It wasn't so much about the idea of donating a kidney, it was more about my brother was in trouble and he needed help.
It wasn't until July 2021 that George discovered she and Craig had matching blood types. She says that's rare since they're not biological siblings, they're adopted.
Immediately I thought, that's my blood type. So I reached out to Mom and just said, Mom, now you know that I'm also B positive.
Both had a successful surgery back in May of this year at UAMS. Their mother Care calls it a full circle moment she'll never forget.
The idea that this was able to happen lengthened his life more than likely. Leslie was all ready to do it. It just makes my heart explode.
Craig says he never would have fathomed that his sister would be the one to save his life. Now part of her will always live in him.
It was kind of like a miracle, you know, because we've been waiting so long. And, you know, no telling how long it takes to get a match for the kidney thing.
People say, you know, you're a hero, you know, you saved the day. Don't really look at it that way, because there just was not really any other decision to be made. It's family, and there was no good reason not to.
That was Desmond Nugent reporting. Craig did experience a few complications after surgery, and his health is almost back to full strength. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you with one last look at the milestone anniversary at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James. Hope to see you again next time.
We have a lot to thank God for today.
Whenever we celebrate a church's anniversary, we're not just feasting over a building, are we? We think more of those living stones, a spiritual house, the faith that has been planted, nurtured, preached, and practiced here, the faith extolled by Jesus in this afternoon's Holy Gospel.